I was thinking the same thing.
Bravo Sierra.
Bravo Sierra. Good evening.
I'm not sure that was part of his call.
It was WA1QRX used to say, to look tall, stand on a big pile.
Thanks, Clark. I'm not that stupid. I am pretty stupid.
Well, I didn't know where the demarcation line was.
Sometimes it gets a little blurred.
Isn't that the southern border of Pennsylvania? Is that where the demarcation line is?
Close. I'm not sure exactly where it is.
You know, the Mason-Dixon line, that line. Who were those guys, Mason and Dixon? What were they doing?
I don't know. My son's name is Dixon, but it's not after the Mason-Dixon line. It's after Willie Dixon, you know, the blues singer, but definitely not after the Mason-Dixon line.
Hey, Bear, were you on this morning when Howard was on from Canada?
Yeah, I wasn't on. I was listening. Did he say he had a beam up on a tower aimed at us? That was, I wasn't quite sure what I was hearing.
Yeah, well, the key to the whole thing was the height of the antenna. Yeah, the two elements give them a little bit of gain, but, you know, not the 20 dB signal he had. I've talked to Howard for years and years and years. And he was always, you know, I could copy him, but he was kind of piss weak. That antenna up in the air at, what did he say, 120 feet or 130 feet, something like that. He was strapping.
Yeah, he was unbelievably strong, quite frankly. Given all the conditions and the distance, he was unbelievably strong. Was he that high up in the air, 130 feet? Did he say anything about what the tower was that was holding it up, and which bank did he rob?
He robbed the bank of working hard and selling a business. I've known Howard for a long time. But yeah, it's 130 feet up. He did say that. I'm going to go up and pay a visit there. We have a invitation to go up there next time I have some free time. I want to check out his facilities and all that. So yeah. The antenna height, it made it, I mean, his signal is so much stronger than it used to be. Now that he's got that antenna way up in the air. That's really what it takes.
Yeah, I've got to talk to Marshall about why that works so well. I'm curious. I don't know what the theory behind that is, but it was noticeable. And he said it was sort of aimed in our direction.
I believe you felt so
I've been preaching this for years. You get your antenna up at least minimum 90 feet, preferably 100 feet. So you still go to local service, but you get incredible distance service out of it. If you get up to 120 feet, your local dies. But you're at between 90 and 100, you're going to have a very strong local signal, but you're going to have a super strong distance signal, and that's basically what Howard's got going there.
Well, there's a couple of guys I've worked in Europe, probably during the winter at night when the band is open on sideband below 3800, who have full-size 80-meter beams. A lot of them run the quads, the four squares, but at least one guy, I think the guy in Spain is running a full-size beam. He was describing it one night, and it's like the boom is like Roan 45 horizontally for 80 feet. No, whatever he did, he made some money.
Anyway, that was I just want to flew right in. So hi to everybody in here. Good group, Daryl and Perry, Warren, Clark, and you there, Bear, and There's a few other folks, but I don't remember all of whom is here. It's
Let's drop out.
The packets fell off the trail.
And there he goes.
Question about the Hooters girls at the Hamfest with Clark.
And nobody would even, they wouldn't even look at Clark if that was true. He could walk anywhere he wanted and nobody would still know what he looked like.
Ouch.
As I said, no one would notice any radios.
Yeah, exactly. They'd probably be walking into things.
Of course, everybody would want to tune the knobs.
So what, you just like your anonymity to the point of paranoia, Clark? Is that that's what the story is?
I'm sorry, I just returned from the commissary. What?
Oh, I say, what do you, want to maintain your anonymity to the point of paranoia, or it sounds like you don't want anybody to ever know who you are, so you can just walk around and be just, that's a guy, you know, and then nobody knows him.
Isn't that great, walking around with complete anonymity and being judged free? Look at ham radio. I mean, we're all talking and there's no visual communication whatsoever. Everything that's exchanged is completely like even playing field balanced. It's audio in two directions. So it's not like one person's getting audio and video and another person's getting something else. It's all balanced. And when you have Hamfests and stuff like that, it throws that balance off.
Well, actually, that's a new version of it. I think it actually enhances the experience to know who the hell you're talking to and what he looks like. You know, I could be a 500-pound mound for all you know. Well, actually, no, I am. No, I'm not. But, I mean, you just don't know. And it's kind of interesting when you connect a voice to a face. It's funny. At least it used to be, because everybody, back in the 70s, most people were so straight looking, and then you got these freaks from 3885 would show up. It was quite funny.
Who was straight looking in the 70s?
Oh, Joe Q. Ham, you know, remember the ads with everybody operating with a suit and tie? Came out of the 50s, 60s, the slop bucket wars. Things started changing then, but now we're just a bunch of disgusting old guys.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was saying, like 1958 at the ARRL National Convention, I'm sure everybody was wearing suits and ties and, you know, Stetson hats and dressed very clean. You go to a Hamfest today, it's beat-up jeans, T-shirts, and a baseball cap. And you know, and of course, that might have been okay when you're 30 years old, but, you know, guys our age, generally speaking, that, you know, it's on the opposite end of the spectrum from those Hooters girls that Clark's coming with.
No, we're not old.
Anyway.
No, it's men.
You know, the problem is the average age, and I remember looking around at Boxborough, and the average age of ham radio was full fart.
I think I bring the average age down for a good amount.
No.
Yes, you do.
You count as a statistical outlier. And I'm not calling you a liar. I'm saying you're statistically out of the way far away from the mean or the norm or any of those central points. So you're out there, you know. So you'd have to show up with a couple hundred guys your age to affect the statistical realities. It's pretty bad.
No, I know. What, Clark, what were you saying the other day that the average age was of ham radio operators? Didn't you say it was 70?
Everything like that. You go back to the 50s and the 60s, everybody's wearing suits. You know, the women are dressed in nice dresses. The kids, the boys are even dressed in a jacket and tie and everything like that. Back then, people really cared about how they looked. Like when they're out in public, they have to look the best they can look. Now, you see even people lined up for business class on international flights, they're there like they just walked off the beach. They're in their No Fear wife beaters, their Casper the Friendly Ghost gym shorts, flip-flops. It's like, you have got to be kidding. You bought a business class ticket and they show up like that. Hey, well, I'm comfortable. No, it's disgraceful. People don't care how they look anymore. That's a shame.
I do agree with that to a point, because I know I got I got dragged out of grade school because I went to, after my parents went to work, I changed my breeches and shirt and dressed comfortably, and they found out, somebody squealed, and boy, did I get my ear pulled on out the door. And my mother made me go back to school after I changed into my nice clothes. I hated that, but that's the way it was.
Hey, Clark.
Yes.
Didn't you say the other day that the average age of ham radio, the average ham radio operator age is 70? Did I hear that right?
Yupper.
Yeah, like I said, the average age is old fart.
Where'd you get that statistic?
That actually came from two sources. It came from a guy who said that, and he was quoting the ARRL, and then another guy said, no, that can't be true, and then a third guy looked it up, and he said, yes, it does seem to say that, and then a fourth guy questioned, well, how does the ARRL know how old people are, because that's not required information. So I don't know, but there weren't a lot of people questioning it. It really did come to about 70.
Old buzzards.
Bird, proud of it.
Well, I lay this at the feet of the ARRL for being I'll say this publicly. Hold on. Yeah, incompetent.
Well,
there was a time when the FCC logs were kept, licenses had the age, and if you extrapolate the data, and probably a computer program has that old stuff around, and if those licenses are still valid, there's a valid source to find out what the average age is. I remember looking up one guy's call, and it said 98, only had the last two digits, 98, and it was 1988 when I looked it up. The damn guy was almost over 100 years old.
I think 70 is statistically not practical. I mean, seriously, they're saying average. That means that half of the operators are over 70 and the other half are below. It sounds too old to me.
That means
that's why I was wondering where it came from. It sounds too old.
Yes, I'm telling you, I've been on the air continuously since 1948, and I feel pretty young myself. Where's my choppers?
If I was to guess, I would say that probably the average age would be in the mid-50s to maybe 60, but that's just a guess.
I guess mid-50s to 60.
Mid-60s.
And I'm too old.
Yeah, mid-50s to 60 is probably the average.
That sounds about right. Because most people I've talked to over the years are a little bit older than I was. Including this group here. Or at least what it was back in the way back when I got on the air.
But there are young people coming into the hobby, and some of them are very young, so they are going to pull the average down quite a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, they will. But when they dropped the code for the text, you had the Shack on a Belt crew come into the hobby, and I don't know. I really don't know anybody that gets off into radio these days unless they're, I don't know, I just don't know. But then again, I'm an old fart. I'm not in touch with these whippersnappers.
Is there an app for this? Is there an app for this frequency?
Yes.
No doubt.
Yeah, there is kind of.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, there is. I can get it on my smartphone if I want to.
There you go.
Well, I will say I am very impressed by some of the younger folks who are getting into ham radio like Perry, not to make your head explode or anything, and Billy the Kid, and this guy Daniel, who's down at the, University of Delaware. He got he's became president of the defunct Ham Radio Club. He got his hands on a Collins 20V3 broadcast transmitter, got it converted to 80-meter use. These guys are exceptional. I think that shows tremendous promise.
I'm so sweet.
And you got people like Bob N1XBM. He's young. There's a few other youngins on here.
I'm just an old fart.
Hello, is that you, Hiram? It's me, Percy.
Hello, Timmy.
Hello there, Percy. I haven't talked to you for a long time. How's it hanging?
Dinner just went up through my nose.
You and the good wife Mabel, I think since 1955, and I haven't changed a bit, except I'm only 4'6" tall now, and I weigh 84 pounds.
Swine business, old man. Swine business. So how's everybody doing? I'm operating up here from the bunker briefly before I go down to get my supper. See ya.
Well, Tim, we're talking about the average age of ham radio operators and whether Clark is coming to Nearfest with girls hired from Hooters.
Yeah, he never goes to ham festers.
Well, we've tried to convince him, it was his idea, if he hires girls from Hooters, that no one will notice that he's standing there at all.
Nice seaman. Well, now. Yeah, I'm just doing a couple of things, not running much power. Yeah, I was listening in a little bit. I just turned this thing on. This is the Gonset Twins. Only I changed the microphonium connector. I got one of these 2-pin Amphenol connectors. And I've got the Wazoo FT101E with a 4-pin microphonium connector. And rather than to have two Headless Horseman D10-4 stand and having to unscrew the microphonium element and go back and forth between them, he said, screw it. I'm going to put a 4-pin microphonium connector on the power supply modulator. Kind of a pain in the ass, but this is it, and I'm road testing it, and it works.
Yes, it does.
So therefore, I can take the other D10-4, which is the 2-pin Amphenol connector, back down below where it will reside with the Viking 2. So that's the story.
You say 2-pin Amphenol. Is that like the classic Heathkit SB series type they use on those things?
No, they put them on all the Junction gear and a lot of other transmitters, you know. You know, you have 2 pins, and then you have the collar, which screws onto the outside of the connector, which is ground.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what I was talking about. That's what I thought. The Johnson stuff I had already had mic plugs changed, so I didn't know what that. I didn't know they used them on all those. I just know Heathkit used them. That and those stupid ceramic RCA switches, plugs for RF output. That was weird.
It's called cheapness.
Yeah, that's true. It is. At least it was ceramic.
All the real RCA connectors had ceramic inner pieces. It's only the nips that cheapened it up to plastic, and then the Chinese followed their lead.
Okay, well, there's at least half a dozen other guys on frequency, and gentlemen, you got to key it up if you want to get in here. It's prime time on 85. WB2GCR return. Not that anybody will notice my absence.
Well, it must be my breath. There you go.
I just fogged up my tuning dial.
Well, I don't know if anybody will be left in here in a little bit. I told my wife I'd be up here for about an hour, and it's been about that. She is supple waiting for me, dear.
Remember, happy wife, happy life. Hop to it.
I will. Maybe I'll catch you guys a little bit with my usual setup down below. At least this one works, and it's easier to deal with. This is WAYH. Oh, I listen to you all the time.
I guess everybody went away.
Well, I guess we did.
The problem I notice is being up here in northern New England, I don't hear the stations down in 3 and 2 land that well. So it kind of like it's split propagation-wise.
You know, I generally hear them when I have the right antenna on, but, you know,
I only got one. And apparently it doesn't do that well south, I don't think.
yeah, well, generally if I make a different transmission, they all run away, and I didn't, so
Oh, well. Sitting up here in the shack, it's nice and cool for a change up here. Christ, I was on here this morning, it got up to 94 degrees.
jeez. I only got up into the upper 60s, maybe low 70s. Anyway, maybe I'll catch in about a half hour or so. This WA1H and y'all are getting up.
See ya, W1LO. I guess everyone gone or what?
Here today, gone tamale.
Ooh, tamales.